and welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship Week 6, Day number 3. I'm Dallas Easy Fight today. Joining me, of course, is Matt Smite Ross and Kevin Averill Walker. We are in match number 2, rather, of Day number 3, Week 6, Day number 3. All over the place here, it seems. I'm just a little bit all over the place after that first matchup, seeing Detonator Gold take down SunSister 3-0. Now it's Blank's turn to take on SunSister.
And well, if you thought the 3-0 by Detonator against SunSister was pretty one-sided, well, Blank coming in ready to rock your world.
I don't know if anyone really thought it was one-sided because technically it was quite close.
It was quite close.
Let's be fair, it was really close. I think SunSister had a decent run, but not a good enough run, and they're certainly going to need a much better run if they want to really make a dent in Blank.
And so yeah, SunSister stepping up to the plate yet again. Looking obviously a little bit shaky coming off the last series. You know, King's Roast technically swindled away from them by Detonator, as we sort of talked about there, but now coming up against Blank. This is like climbing Mount Everest, I feel, for them.
With like...
no clothes on.
You're just naked.
Yeah.
Well, also, we got to talk about the emotional aspect of this matchup as well, right? Because SunSister just coming off a 3-0 loss. Normally for teams, it's pretty devastating, but you can get around that. But this was realistically the only team that they could have taken off a win against, not just in the second round robin, but at all in their run so far. And they got 3-0'd. And even though some of those matches were close, that might even have made it just sting that little bit more. And also, the emotional side for Blank as well is...
That was a sting. This is going to be like a punch in the face.
Exactly. But, for Blank, if they drop even a single map, if even a few of their fights don't go completely perfectly for them, that's going to set them just a little bit emotional, maybe not emotional, but maybe a little bit messy coming up against AHQ, because that is the title bout. If Blank win here, they'll be tied for first place with AHQ, and that is going to be a hugely important match.
So yeah, just looking at the schedule tonight, this is the last game of round robin 2. The next matchup is going to be Blank taking on AHQ Esports Club, which is going to be the start of round robin 3. And what an absolute cracker of a match to start off round robin 3. After that's going to be a rematch of last night. It's going to be Marchi Esports taking on Team Fireball. And I mean, those two teams as well, you know, quite evenly matched. Marchi obviously looking like they're edging ahead in regards to sort of, you know, those two teams there.
It's actually a very similar story to what we just saw between SunSister and Detonator, where Fireball was kind of in SunSister's place, and while they were very close, they had a couple of moments where you almost thought Fireball could have taken it out against Marchi, much like SunSister versus Detonator. They couldn't close it out, and that's a bit of a problem for Fireball, though. They get another shot, they get another chance to redeem themselves very, very quickly.
Unfortunately, if they fall short later on tonight in the last match, it feels like that's almost their last moment, right? Short of upsetting a team that's much higher above them. Last time we've seen them go up against Hong Kong Attitude, both 3-0s in the 2 matches they've played. And similar story for every team above them in the ladder. They've had their best shot against Marchi. They've actually beaten Marchi before, but if they can't show that they've improved against Marchi and take a win there, then it's almost like it's the end of the road.
To be honest, it's not about improving against Marchi, because it's been less than 24 hours. It's more about what it's can they actually get those wins that they should have gotten yesterday, because I don't know how much you can make a huge turnaround in less than 1 day, so I'm not expecting that from Fireball. I'm just expecting them to sharpen up the edges on where they were lacking yesterday in terms of the very small stuff where they just almost got past the line. This time around, they should actually just get past the line.
At least they have good intro videos though, right?
Oh my God.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out Averill's Twitter and you'll see what I'm talking about. But obviously we are getting into Blank taking on SunSister first up. That is obviously what we're going to be talking about now. And I think obviously even if Blank lets SunSister get 99% on, you know, any of these control maps, that's you know, they're not going to lose, but I mean that's still a loss in their books.
That's about as close to losing as you're going to get.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, if they even let them get up to 99%, you know what I'm saying? Like a cap here and there surely is acceptable, but to let them get all the way, you know, up to 99, 99, I think that would be disastrous.
As long as it's not like planned and intended by Blank, say they give up the point and say, okay, look, we've got plenty of time to come back and just retake the point.
Well, I guess this is a really good sort of warm-up, coming up against AHQ. We sort of just talked about that before. Because, Blank have really been sort of switching up, who plays what and, who plays what when. I should really sort of say, different maps, different, I guess, situations where they like to, change things up. This is where, a lot of these players, they've switched over ATAR onto the Pharah. He can really get sort of, I guess, a good feel, good little bit of momentum coming into that next series, obviously. Eat Up always so very, very stable, I guess. He's always that sort of backbone of the team.
Interesting, Soldier was kind of missing on the list for ATAR there. I guess when you only have 3 to pick from, Soldier's been out of the picture for him for so long, it's barely been in. And this is an interesting one as well. It's very rare to see this kind of a hero pool available for a single player. Reinhardt and then also Genji D.Va. This is kind of unheard of across not just the OPC, but I think competitively in general.
That's what you want to see. Reinhardt, Winston.
What's weird that
it's weird that
D.Va's
Winston's there because he's usually he got picked up as a Xayah player predominantly, and then sort of moved on to D.Va as well as his next best pick. Talking about Kiki here, and then now also Winston, but no Reinhardt. I have not seen a single Reinhardt out of Kiki.
Yeah, maybe a little bit mix up on the stats there. I think Elu's been doing a pretty good job on the Lucio.
Thumbs up.
Time in, time again. He's feeling good in this one. Mola's having a few sort of standout plays. Oh, they're all feeling pretty good, giving us a thumbs up. Choice, mate, ready to go.
Specifically thumbs up to us as well.
Yeah, he knows. He knows.
Yeah, he knows. But Mollis, I think he impressed me the most out of the SunSister squad up against Detonator. Like you said, a few standout moments, actually doing a lot of work on the Tracer, especially during Oasis. I think he got the biggest effect then. But to take it up against Blank, that's such a big ask.
The thing I think to look out for is Blank just did play against Detonator Gold, so the takeaway from that match was where was Detonator sitting against Blank, and I want to say Detonator was sitting probably too comfortable versus Blank than Blank would have liked. So for Blank, can they kind of prevent that now? Can they not have a repeat of the Detonator performance versus them, even though it was a 3-0? If Blank, going back to kind of the theme, which is how they're going to look versus AHQ later, if Blank don't get a super clean win against SunSister, that may affect their results in the next match.
Yeah, if we have a look at the standings real quick as well, we can sort of see how things are going to play out. Having Blank coming up against SunSister, obviously this is going to, I think, put them up onto 12 wins there. And then that's when that match with AHQ, see, they're going to be sitting even 12-2 apiece. So that's sort of going to be the big tiebreaker between those two teams.
And the other big thing as well between those top 3 teams is that if Flash Wolves hadn't dropped that one match up against Machi, which it does feel like they've sharpened up since then, that would be a 3-way tie. I really think at this top 3 tier of teams right now, any 3 of them can take games off of each other. And we're going to see the result of that in our match later on today where Blank plays against AHQ. We'll see how well that goes for them. But yeah, coming up against SunSister though is, like we've been saying, it's a bit of a warm-up, but it's also a bit of a test. If Blank have a performance like they did against Detonator, even though that was a 3-0, I think it was still too much of a tight 3-0, especially on some maps, for them to just take that into the AHQ match.
Well, Blank do have the home pick here, so they are going to have, I guess, even more going for them in their favor as they come up against SunSister. I don't think anything really is going to matter in regards to their map pool. It's obviously a lot deeper than what SunSister are sort of ready for. Can you sort of expect them to try and do something a little bit different on one of the underpick maps?
I'm expecting Blank to pick the most oddball maps possible that'll deny a decent amount of knowledge to AHQ, because no doubt AHQ are going to be looking. Here we go, Ilios off the bat. Totally expected from Blank, because if you're AHQ, you are watching and you are trying to look out for what Blank are going to do. And, Blank being smart players themselves, going to deny as much info as possible.
AHQ do get the home team advantage though against Blank. So if they do see any flaws in Ilios, which is not a map picked very often by Blank, what they can do is pick up this Ilios against them. So even if Blank do even 3-0 on Ilios against SunSister, if there's any signs of weakness, this is knowledge that AHQ are going to gain.
This is super meta, but I think there's a possibility that Blank are going to pull out oddball strategies and compositions as well, even just to throw AHQ off even further. So they may not even win super hard against SunSister. They may choose to not throw, but they may choose to play something a bit more random and not win as hard, so to speak. And for AHQ, you can't gather information off that. You can't really realistically look at that and be like, well, this is what they're going to do in Ilios. It's not. It's just what they did versus SunSister to throw you off.
The other thing to sort of mention here is I think last time Blank played AHQ and they lost that series to them, I believe the first control was on Ilios. Because I remember
Sorry, Blank lost to who?
When they lost to AHQ.
They played Nepal.
Did they play Nepal?
Yes.
Because I remember EDUP sort of going against someone else's Widowmaker and was sort of getting dealt to a little bit on Ilios.
I can't remember who that was.
They played Fireball on Ilios.
They played a number of teams on Ilios, but I don't think AHQ is one of them. I could be wrong on that one. And I do not also remember EDUP losing Widowmaker at any point.
He did. The first engagement, he tried to go for like the low angle shot and gets sniped out rather than going for the Widow on Widow fight.
Okay.
I mean, I should probably not talk.
I'll trust you on that.
No,
one.
I should probably not talk because I didn't even realize Detonator won the last series, so...
We don't talk about that moment.
Let's just not talk about that.
Give you the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Well, it's Ilios.
Easy, you're the one who decides who really wins.
You're a winner in my heart there,
So,
SunSister.
let's clean this match up right now. Who wins, Easy?
I'm going to have to say it's going to be a sharp 3-0
To SunSister.
to someone. I'm not going to say to
the
anyone.
well.
I'm going to
To the well is going to be the MVP of this one.
Well, you know, we'll be looking out for those environmental kills. This is the matchup to practice them on, I feel. What is that right there? We're moments away from Ilios here. XQQ surely was not going to be playing Symmetra in this one. Going to be going with the Widowmaker, trying to see if he can take the fight to EDUP's Widowmaker. Will I be right or wrong?
Yeah,
That's the real question.
yeah, the key thing is also going to be how the rest of the team deals with the enemy Widowmaker, right? There's going to be Trill to go and deal with it, but look at SunSister's side.
Oh, there it is. That's the headshot to open it up.
That's another way to deal with it as well. Just get your Widowmaker to win that 1v1. And this is already a lost fight for SunSister, who immediately have to back off. It's all about how little they can lose in retreating to the spawn point.
EDUP has obviously not had dinner tonight and is wanting to get fed there, just taking the heads off a couple of SunSister members. Easy first cap there for Blank. Oh, can't even just fly up into the sky and get any information there, XQQ, as he just eats a shot to the face as well.
So what's going to happen is later on in this match, XQQ won't be winning the Widowmaker 1v1. And see, look, he's already killed by EDUP there. He's going to swap. But it's going to be too late, and this is something that has happened for SunSister quite consistently, right? EDUP is just, he's got so much space. There's no Tracer on top of him. A Denkin is on the Genji. He could be on top of EDUP as well, but they just can't get past the front line. EDUP just has so much room to do whatever the heck he wants.
Well, Atar got taken down by Mollus's Tracer, so technically Blank have already lost the map here.
The Wells one.
There we go, but 38% now Blank getting their way up on cap percentage. Now SunSister going to need to look to push into this next fight. But Blank sitting in a very good position to really deal with the attack that gets thrown out. Zetman going to be leaping in. Oh, EDUP gets taken down. Great shot there by XQQ to open things up.
But can they capitalize on it? They need to move forward. They're just kind of struggling around this choke point here. They've already lost XQQ, so that's just even things up, and now they've got more kills.
But Mollus, though, being the hero that SunSister need, he's got that pulse bomb to work with as well, managing to get themselves a little bit of a cap. He's going back to the rest of his team to try and assist here because Atar is being so devastating and not letting any of these SunSister players get up there.
No health pack there for you, bro.
Well,
Nothing there
Mollus,
to
though,
take.
being the King Tracer, or the Queen Tracer, I should say, in these engagements.
Well, whatever kind of Regal Tracer you are, it's only the one kill you've got so far. Pulse Bomb into this fight.
Well, Dragon Blade going to be thrown out there. Can it do enough, though? That's the real question.
Well, I mean, XQQ is already taken out by EDUP, which now means he's got just complete free reign. Dragon Blade is coming up for a Denkin, but seriously, probably needs to save it.
Oh, he throws it away for nothing. It's actually just going to be the poison taking him down into death right there. The Transcendence going to be thrown out from the side of Blank here as well. And that's going to be a very convincing first stage victory there for Blank, 100-0.
Yeah, of course, didn't want to save that Dragon Blade when overtime's already ticking. Now, that was entirely one-sided. My prediction didn't even come true because it just felt like there wasn't enough time for XQ to even start considering a swap. He beat EDUP in a 1v1 once, and then his team wasn't able to capitalize on it because EDUP was just, sorry, not EDUP, the Tracer was still there to just come in and capitalize on the kills, just continue to push forwards, and honestly, SunSister were just, Atar, yeah, well, someone, but they were just constantly pushed up against their spawn and they could never get out of position to just capitalize on even that pickup.
Well, Atar going to be bringing out the Pharah. We'll have Gumba in his pocket. So now XQQ on the Soldier. This is going to be his moment.
It's also Odenkin's moment to a point as well when you've got to try and take the fight on the ground. Odenkin needs to balance how much he's protecting his team on the ground to also how much he flies up to just block out what Atar can lay down onto the ground.
Well, 2 kills there in the way of Blank. SunSister do manage to pick up the tank of Kiki there. So that is a little bit unfortunate for Kiki as he dives in. Doesn't really have support. Now Gumba taken out as well. Atar forced to retreat off the back of this, but the cap is going to be coming up here. It's going to be a contestation right on the point.
Well, they got there first, but they're not going to be able to capitalize on the rest of it. It's surely just Blank with the numbers here. Those early kills really sold it. Eat-Up is also, by the way, just going completely uncontested. And XQQ, I don't see him getting into a good position because Atar is just constantly going to bombard any kind of high ground he finds. And then even if that doesn't work, you've got Trill and Kiki to just jump up there and flush him out.
So I'd like to see Mollis sort of get around up into the back here and just try to force the side of Blank back onto the cap and really get a bit of a brawl going in the enclosed space, because if they keep letting Blank sort of get all aggressive up in their face, just like Eat Up opens it up onto Elu with the pulse bomb. So now SunSister still nothing to really work with, being that player down as well, and forced back, not even being allowed up the street.
Yep, they just need to back off once more, and without a Pharah, without XQQ able to contest the Pharah in the sky at all, it's really SunSister needing to take the fight on the ground. They just don't have enough to deal with the pharmacy combo up in the sky, because they're also being dealt with by Eat Up. If everyone's looking up, Eat Up is just going to be just mowing them down on the ground because no one can deal with it. But this might be his Mercy going down. Just kidding.
Gumbo playing ring around the Rosie there, keeping himself alive. Looked like SunSister could have picked themselves up a kill there. But it's all coming up Blank here, not losing any members in that exchange, and a lot of ultimates to work with as well, just passing 50% here. Mollis has a Dragon Blade though, so this is going to have to be huge. XQQ with that Tactical Visor just about up on top of it.
Mollis has Dragon Blade, but there's no Nano Boost to go with it. Tactical Visor can actually shut down the team in the sky.
Well, it's going to be Trill's Dragon Blade coming out. Eat Up already taking XQQ, so there will be no Tactical Visor. Zetman going to be hitting his Primal Rage, taking Trill out, so doesn't get anything out of his Dragon Blade. Now Mollis going to be looking to see what he can find with his own Dragon Blade, except it's just thin air right now. Does manage to land a slash, but the recall from Eat Up just in time. Threw that pulse bomb out onto Zetman also, so still going to be looking good for Blank. The self-destruct coming out for the side of SunSister, and they're getting very close to a cap right now. 87%, they need to make things happen. XQQ just managed to make it back into the fight, pick up that kill onto Trill, but now Odington should surely be losing his mech in this situation.
Oh, this fight has gone on too long as well that SunSister won't get a re-engage at all. Blank sitting at 97%. Enough kills, and anything SunSister throws at the point will surely be cut down swiftly. This is going to be 2-0 up for Blank right now, and it's really looking like there's just zero resistance coming up from SunSister. They can't deal with the threat in the sky. Eat Up is just running rampant against anyone that he wants to. They're just getting so much value out of these trades. The only ultimates we saw come out were a res, just to keep them up on the fight, and pulse bombs. And I think a sound barrier at one point.
I mean, this is the performance we were really wanting to see come out from Blank. Obviously, you know, their next matchup is obviously going to be very hard coming up against AHQ, so they really needed to solidify, you know, that they are still a team to be reckoned with, and they are showing that right here, not giving up any caps to SunSister on Ilios.
Yep, both 99 and zeros, but now we're going to see a battle in the sky. XQQ, I don't believe he won that fight against Anakin. How is he going to go up against Atar, who, by the way, beat Anakin? So if we go by the triangle logic here, XQQ should surely fall against Atar as well.
Beautifully put there. I was going to say the same thing myself, and that's going to be XQQ trying to land himself a concuss. Atar going to be all over him though, getting a little bit of tunnel vision, but you see the difference there. Atar falling back, throwing a few rockets out onto the ground battle and assisting the ground forces of Blank to pick themselves up that early kill onto Elu. So now player advantage, XQQ on 4 HP. Can anyone from the side of Blank just finish him up? Or it's going to be a direct rocket there from Atar. But Mollis though doing good work on the Tracer, getting a nice little return kill onto Kiki, but the rest of the team are down and out, and Blank picked themselves up the first cap here.
You said it yourself during that Pharah battle, right? Atar just shooting missiles onto the ground in addition to finding them up against XQQ whenever he could. Sold them the fight on the ground. He actually got the killing blow, which just won the ground fight for them, so now Blank are in a fantastic position. SunSister, they're not going to win this sky battle at all, even with XQQ tunneling. They need to just commit more to the ground. Now, they have done that because they do have, they've got Night Owl on that Ana, so they do have a bigger ground force. So Gumba needs to find his balance between healing the sky and healing the ground.
RQT being the Boopio that Blank need there, sending Zetman down the well being the true winner on the day. Oh, double kill there from Eatup's Pulse Bomb, finding a third as well onto Night Owl. So surely SunSister going to be forced off this next offensive on top of that. And you can see the polish as well coming out from Atar's Pharah. Big changes obviously from the early weeks of the OPC.
And we're back in a situation where Blank have only used the Pulse Bomb for any of their ults. They've got a res now ready to go. Basically, all of their ults are going to be up for the next fight. So SunSister, they really have to struggle to find something. They've got a nano boost, but who are you going to use it on? Oh my god.
XQQ not long for the Sky there. This time Trill was there to have the back of Atar, and now the Dragon Blade coming from Trill, wanting to really get one of these play of the game-esque big sort of ultimate uses coming out from the Dragon Blade there. And look at this, just chasing Zetman all the way back home to spawn. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, do not get on the point. 75% here, and Blank in full control.
Yep, and they don't even use all of their ults. Trill even managing to build up some of his during the dregs of that fight. They still have res, they still have barrage, and what if SunSister got to deal with any of this? They're struggling to get up to their first ults for most of their team. That's a good start.
Oh, there we go. Zetman sending Trill down to his death there. That's great stuff. The barrage coming through from Atar, and now Mollis looking to clean up some more of these Blank members. The sound barrier, though, going to be keeping a lot of them alive through this next engagement. Mollis, no! What has he done? Surely he was doing that on purpose.
Well, during overtime...
We'll hope so.
During overtime, I don't think it's a great idea to do that on purpose. Well, Blank... A very expected win on Ilios, or any map on Control against SunSister, to be fair. But that was the one-sided game that we need to see. We need to see from Blank if they can hope to contest up against AHQ in their next series. This is a fantastic beginning for Blank.
Yeah, great stuff there, and that Pulse Bomb as well. I mean, picking up the first onto XQQ, killing Blow, just 4 kills there in such quick succession from Eat-Up. I mean, it's really hard to say what Blank did wrong there. Master Avril?
Master?
Yeah, I'm still working my way up to GM and then top 500, but we'll get there one day. Yeah, I think I don't know, not a lot to say in terms of what Blank did wrong there. I think it's hard for them to do anything wrong in that situation. Even stuff they didn't do optimally is like, they don't even really have to. It's like, what could you say there? Oh, Kiki maybe chased a bit too far, had to pop a Primal Rage, kind of whatever at that stage. It's even stuff like that is just unpunishable by SunSister to be quite frank. What I want to point attention towards is when you look at Atar's Pharah play, especially you compare it to most of the other Pharahs in the competition, especially what we've just seen tonight with Amakin, with XQQ in particular. Atar's not really concerned with XQQ to start with. He's kind of just keeping tabs on him, just saying, yep, he's still there. Well, I'm just going to keep popping down the ground. Yeah, he's still there. Well, I'm just going to hide around and keep popping on the ground. And then if XQQ gets too annoying, he'll spend a little bit of tension there. And you actually see the way they deal with XQQ. It's not Atar himself. You got Eat-Up shooting up into the sky. You got Trill as well shooting up in the sky, dashing, meleeing XQQ. You got multiple members actually helping to deal with the fire in the sky, while the attention is always on one side. It's either on the ground or it's in the sky. If it's in the sky, everyone's trying to go for the sky. If it's on the ground, everyone's focusing on the ground.
And I think that's one of the best ways that you sort of deal with the pharmacy combo now. You don't rely on sort of like, that burst damage of the McCree or the soldier there, using the whole team in its entirety as one cohesive unit to sort of switch targets from ground to air. Very smart play there, I feel.
Yeah, I think SunSister, they were trying to win more of the fight on the ground. You could see that in the way that they weren't running a Mercy later on during Well, and this is something that Japanese teams do sometimes do, but in this case, they still weren't even winning that fight on the ground just because of how the fire play was coming out for Blank. Just shots on the ground and occasionally in the air. I mean, the focus is always moving around.
You know what XQQ could have done is he could have just done what Atar did and shot on the ground as well. Then he would have added ground damage, because essentially SunSister were playing 5v6 because all of XQQ's shots were going in the sky. Like, I don't know if you guys caught any of his directs. I don't think he hit a single direct, which means near 100% of his shots didn't hit anything, which essentially means it's a 5v6.
Mollis was just like, bro, can you give me a little bit of help down here? I'm trying.
I mean, if you're not landing shots, I mean,
what's the point?
We can't see, but if he tabbed at any point at the end of the game, he's just like, oh, what was my damage? Oh, 0, cool. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's just, but that's what it kind of was.
Oh,
Yeah,
he had a concussive.
It's
concussive
also-
shot, is that?
Oh, they don't do any damage
know,
though, so
that's-
yeah. But yeah, it's a similar way to what happened on Ruins, where the Widowmaker matchup just was clearly not in XQ's favor except for one moment, and his team still didn't capitalize on that. And that's the kind of time where you think, all right, look, SunSister, sometimes we hound teams for changing up heroes a little bit too often, especially XQQ himself, but if there's ever a time to change up your composition, it's actually then, because you're just not outclassing them at all.
You know what? Eat Up's Widow is becoming really predictable now, not in the sense that you know he's going to pick it, but you know exactly where he's going to be. If you've seen any of the games, he always goes to the exact same spot behind a couple of bushes and checks the exact same spot every time to get his opening pick. So if you're going on Ruins, you're going up against Eat Up, you know, okay, he's going to be up on that ledge on high area behind some bushes, and he's going to check this corner here. Let's just not go there. Let's just go the other way, and also send some guy to meet him there, because we already know where he's going to set up.
But this could come back to sort of the original point you were making, you know, are they sort of showing that off now, you know, because AHQ are one of those teams that are really good at obviously figuring out their opponents, you know, last matchup against Blank really sort of showcased that. They show that they are so predictable, you know, AHQ feel really confident, come in thinking, oh yeah, Eat Up's just going to be up on that corner. He plays from the other side this time, gets that early pick. Surprise, I wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? So is this sort of a bait coming out from Blank to sort of make themselves look more predictable?
Well, that would be pretty next level, but I mean, we'll have to kind of find out. I don't know if they've been saving that in the pocket, then sure. But at the same time, I think the fact that Eat Up goes where he goes anyway is because that is the best starting spot that he thinks. Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing it this often to start with. And he's been doing this against all the best teams anyway. So if he is forced to change positioning, that's kind of like a negative as well also for Blank, because Eat Up is forced to change to a positioning that is not as favorable as the initial starting place where he would like to be instead. So it's kind of give and take. There's some pros and cons.
Maybe the fact of the matter is you just have to get him away from that spot. You have to actually put attention on him that's not just your Widowmaker, because sure, your one might occasionally get a kill, but 90% of the time, if you're XQQ, you're going to lose that 1v1, and even when you do, your team's just not able to capitalize on that. So actually sending someone else off in the backlines to go and deal with Eat Up's Widowmaker is something that SunSister can do. It's something
Actually,
that AHQ can do.
That is a potential weakness for Blank, and I think it has come back to bite them a few times when, if Eat Up is forced to change off Widow, he can't go into Tracer because Atar's already playing Tracer. So that's a weakness now, because you want Eat Up on Tracer. The guy, as you can see, as history has foretold, he's just fantastic on Tracer. He really pulls his weight extremely hard, and if he's blocked off Tracer and he has to go on to something else, he's not as impactful as what he brings on that specific hero.
Well, SunSister being, I'd say somewhat predictable here, but probably the
Giving a handout to HQ, I think.
The smartest thing they could sort of do right here is obviously picking up King's Row. You know, they played quite decently against Detonator Gold on King's Row. Well, I shouldn't say decently. I should say technically they found more success than Detonator did, other than obviously winning the map.
They still.
But this is where Blank have struggled, obviously, on King's Row in the last couple of weeks. So this is sort of good for them.
The thing is, they had a good defense against Detonator during Streets phase. They slipped up once, and you know, that's understandable. Okay, look, that happens. We can discard that, but SunSister still lost the first point pretty much immediately. They still gave up like 95% of the third checkpoint. So that's against Detonator. So you can definitely expect Blank to push it all the way to the end, pretty much zero problems. And then you look at SunSister's attack, which was held up during Streets phase for a fair amount of time as well. And the third checkpoint barely made it past the second corner. So against Detonator, okay, look, that's, you know, kind of an evenly matched team. But going up against Blank, this is a moment where I would not be surprised to see SunSister simply full held at the first point.
I mean, I think they really need to get that first point hold. I mean, I sort of talk about, you know, Blank have had their struggles on this, but they're all just so mechanically skilled and they're far superior, you know, player to player. Compared to SunSister, I feel like obviously a first hold should not be out of the question for Blank coming into this one. It just really feels like this is a good amount that they can sort of practice and work on some of those issues that they've sort of run into, you know, against some of the more higher ranked teams in the OPC.
Yeah, that's fair. We have seen Blank falter a fair amount of times on King's Row. That could also be the reasoning behind SunSister picking this map up so that they could maybe exploit some of those weaknesses where Blank just do give up positioning on the first point, and then sometimes it seems like if they lose a point very, very quickly, they'll make a lot of mistakes hastily in trying to re-establish themselves during the streets phase, during the payload part, where they will just rush onto it and not really consider the fight as, you know, part of the rest of the game.
Well, SunSister going to be on that defense first. Blank attacking first, almost baiting us out with the Orisa pick there. It's going to be the world famous Eat Up Widowmaker now going to be coming into action yet again.
It's a homage to XQQ's Orisa from before, probably just shouting it out to the fans. But yep, they're moving in. Eat Up just has to wait until he gets a pick. Or okay, there we go. There's the pick.
There is no waiting around here. Zetman eating the Widowmaker's shot right in the behind there as he tries to fly up into the high ground. Now Urinkun losing his mech as well, but Molos being the greater Genji around these parts, taking Atar down. But obviously he has a very short run back to get himself back into these fights. And Eat Up in a strong high ground position now. Has that damage boost as well coming from RQT, but Gumba getting that pressure put onto him. Already fallen down out of the fight. Eat Up needs to find a kill and needs to find it soon there, but does have the pocket healing coming in from RQT in this situation.
But at least he's not sniping literally everyone on the point anymore. They've actually forced him off. This is pretty good for them. And now Atar, though, he's getting a lot of ult charge off of that Winston, so he needs to get out of this alive.
But he's also dead.
Oh, Blank had a great start, but that pick at the start against Winston should have actually sold the point for them. They should have been able to get there because they also took a Denkin out of the mech. That was basically free reign for Eat Up to just go absolutely bonkers on the point. He had a complete view of the point. All the rest of Blank had to do was sit in that square and then just watch it charge up. And if SunSister think, well, no, actually, we're going to contest this, Eat Up just headshots them.
Well, this is the same story again. Zetman taking out very early into this fight. Good ultimate charge there on the side of Blank. Obviously have a lot to work with. The Transcendence coming through to push them into this one. Atar's Dragon Blade is out and looking to play with this. And it's still going to be Eat Up just sitting on the choke point there, just looking to find a couple of pop shots into the point. But the kills coming up in the way of Blank. Surely this is going to be their cap. Can SunSister do the unthinkable again and get themselves back onto this? Looking very unlikely. They surely need to set up for this next attack. But no, they will contest. The Primal Rage coming through from Zetman. This is the hero play indeed. He is out of this one. But now Molos' Dragon Blade finds one. Needs to pick up a second. The Resurrection coming in from RQT to keep the pace alive for Blank here. But definitely not enough kills for SunSister. And now this is going to be disastrous for them on the streets phase.
Well, hey, look, they buy themselves a fair amount of time, but that is not a good trade in this situation. Blank just simply respond with the Resurrect. They've swapped Eat Up onto Tracer. They've set themselves up for a fantastic streets phase. So while SunSister may have bought 20 seconds at best with that last second defense, they've given up most of their positioning in the next phase. They've also given up a humongous ultimate advantage because let's not forget Dragon Blade was used during that Primal Rage. Plenty of ults that would have been useful during streets.
I really like to see how Trill and Kiki are sort of working together as well, rotating, you know, that pressure up onto the high ground, while it's going to just be Eat Up picking that kill up on the low ground down onto Zetman there. So again, good stuff by these players to sort of split and spread across the streets phase, and now Eat Up in a great position to push SunSister back, not even letting them get past checkpoint number 2 here. Karch should get a lot of free time to push up the streets.
Yep. Eat Up also swapping back to the Widowmaker is pretty important because, hey, look, it worked for point 1, and when you're this far forward trying to deny the enemy positioning, they cannot poke around this corner. They'll just lose way too much health. You've got to send a Genji or a Winston up there, and a power boosted Widowmaker is going to take out half, if not all of their life before they even reach it.
Well, Eat Up throwing out a couple of greetings. The sound barrier coming through from Elu now, looking to get things cracking for the side of SunSister, but with XQQ taken out early into this, they've already lost a lot of their damage there. Elu being taken out as well. Atar trying to retreat. Nice stuff there from Zetman, but the Resurrection from RQT, again, keeping the tempo in Blank's favor, and indeed they're finding themselves all the frags they need. Not much contest coming out again from SunSister, and a very fast checkpoint cap here from Blank.
This is a situation of SunSister not recognizing how far behind they are in ultimates. They are committing sound barriers, Primal Rage's Dragon Blades, especially way back on the first point, to fights that they are realistically never going to win, especially when RQT is sitting there on Mercy, who can just res them all back up and nullify absolutely any progress SunSister have made. They need to be going for economical fights.
Well, I mean, Eat Up is being such an annoyance for the side of SunSister. You know, they're having to pour so much resources and so much position into knocking him off his perch that when they do so, they're just overextending themselves into these fights here. And now Eat Up has obviously managed to reposition himself, but Odinkun, good stuff there with that double kill on the self-destruct, really catching Blank out on their aggression. And now SunSister looking to push forward, but Blank very smart on their retreat. They're getting straight out of this fight.
Well, that was pretty good by SunSister. They move in, take an early fight, stop the payload on the first corner, and also picking up that double kill by Odenkin is going to give them a nice moment of peace. But only a moment, because Blank are already back in. And remember all those ults I talked about before?
Atar taking Elu up in the background. He actually hits the Dragon Blade there, but didn't really come out. I think it's, again, a resurrection coming through from RQT to keep him going through this one. XQQ hitting the tack visor. That one kill, though, wasn't even enough. Atar absolutely got nothing with his Dragon Blade there. So, good play there from XQQ to really punish Atar, but other than that, the rest of his team really paying the ultimate price.
If there's anything to punish, though, Blank did have to use a large amount of ultimates to that, and that's before the final battle, which is going to be at the end of this third checkpoint. They can spawn camp, they can just try and keep SunSister locked in their purchase. XQQ, in spectacular fashion, will be swapping to Widowmaker in this final moments of the defense.
Oh, and Kiki able to really punish Night Owl up in this corner here. Should easily be able to take him out. But, ooh, big Transcendence now coming in from Elu to keep SunSister going through this one. XQQ on the Widowmaker, picking up Atar with a nice shot as well. There comes that self-destruct coming out from Trill, looking to be the greater diva here, finds a couple of headshots. Can he get the final kill before the mech comes out? Indeed, he can, and that's going to be huge now. They do have that momentum to come off the back of this. A lot of this riding on Zetman to keep this one alive, but now in a terrible position. Has that Discord Orb on him as well. He's going to be taking a lot of damage, and indeed falls extremely quickly. And now with that Transcendence from Gumber as well, going to allow Blank to push right up into the faces of SunSister.
Zetman's Primal Rage there was essentially 1,000 hit points of ultimate charge for Blank to work with, and that's what they need to secure this point. However, they're doing it without a lot of ultimates at all. It's just Eat Up picking up kills here. And now they have Atar with the Dragon Blade. That should clean up everything left.
Yeah, 1m3 to go. That's going to be it. Blank picking up all 3 caps in quite convincing time there. SunSister having some moments of greatness. That first offense from Blank looking a little bit shaky. You know, things started off looking pretty good, but then obviously I feel Eat Up didn't really do too much, you know, once he got himself up on that second sort of high ground place, and really couldn't sort of capitalize off the first initial kills.
It was SunSister hiding away from Eat Up, so he had to constantly change his positioning there. But the fact of the matter was, Eat Up still had complete vision on the point itself. So Blank could have actually just simply stood on the point and started contesting it, started racking up that percentage so that they could cap it immediately. And SunSister would be, the onus is on them to come in and challenge it, and that's straight into the sightlines of Eat Up. But Blank didn't do that.
Well, going to be interesting to see obviously what Blank come up with on the defense there. We've seen them do that similar sort of offense, you know, with the Widowmaker on King's Row before, and has had a little bit of a struggle. So hopefully, you know, they've sort of worked out a couple of the kinks they've even run into coming up against, you know, SunSister. But now on the defense as well, this is sort of something I feel like they've been struggling with. You know, they're a really good offensive team, but when it comes to defense, sometimes they can look just a little bit shaky.
A little bit shaky sometimes. Sometimes they'll just first hold you on pretty much any map, really. You know, Assault, Hybrid, you name it. But at the same time, if SunSister can break through Blank on this first point, on their first push, even if they lose the map, that's still a horrendous story for Blank moving into against AHQ.
Well, let's see if Blank can fix any of their problems they've had on King's Row defense.
Did somebody say fix? I don't even recognize that brand. Like, does anyone have a spray for that? It's just on King's Row.
And why is peanut butter in a vending machine?
Some people like to keep their, was it in a vending machine or a fridge?
I think it's a chilled vending machine, I'd say. So it's kind of like a fridge.
Cold peanut butter, questionable indeed. Questionable just like the Hanzo coming out from XQQ, I feel. But this could be the surprise that SunSister are indeed looking for.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've done it before, it worked, but I don't think it was against Blank, so they're gonna have to find some pretty big magic here. Eat Up doing what XQQ wants to do and picking up a kill right at the start of that. Gonna set them nice up.
3 kills there for Blank. They need to, SunSister need to fall back off the back of this, I feel. They are already leaping out the front gates. We've seen this before, teams getting too over-aggressive. Nice read there from Eat Up, just catching XQQ as he tries to rotate back into the spawn. But now SunSister should really make Blank pay for their aggressive position and see if they can do it.
Yeah, it is pretty aggressive, but they do have the ability to just fall back. Now, the big story is going to be when RQT hits that Resurrect. He's basically ready for it. XQQ is still not swapping off this Hanzo, so yes, he can find headshots. Yes, Scatter Arrow can just one-shot kill someone if it finds them at the feet, but with RQ2 and the res, it's not going to matter because he can just bring them back up. So,
big kill.
Even though that's Kiki down, heroes never die.
Well, they are out of the fight for now, though, because no, not at all. That is RQT down, but he did get that resurrection off, so that's all that matters now, as Blank are picking up a couple of very highly important kills there. The damage being taken out of that fight as XQQ drops down as well, and Blank just all over this offense from SunSister. Are we indeed going to see a full first point hold? 2 minutes 20 left to work with. Few ultimates up for both sides, though.
It is really feeling like a full hold right here. XQQ, unless he finds some picks, it's a moment where his team has to start moving in and giving him space to find these one shots. Yeah, Hanzo can spam those arrows all day, but there's going to be a lot of defensive matrix which are just going to stop the random nature of these arrows hitting. But never mind.
That's what he's looking for. Huge shot there onto Atar. Is that enough, though? Oh my goodness, Trill all over him there, taking him out and sending him back to the spawn. Atar surely should be able to make it back for this next fight. Obviously has the Dragon Blade still to work with as well. Hello, indeed.
Well, also denying any kind of rush onto the point while Atar's still running back as well, because Eat got an extra pick at the end of that fight. Now, SunSister, to give them some kind of silver lining, they've been losing all these fights so hard they haven't had a chance to use their ults, but here they come.
Well, ultimate coming out from XQQ there. Does connect with RQT just over the back there. So this is going to be SunSister's moment to work with. How did Blank get caught out by that one? Now, Eat Up getting just a kill with the poison off the back of it. Now, Mollis looking to finish up these last few players. Good pulse bomb as well. Should easily be able to clean up the mech, but Atar coming in with the hero play, looking to get things started here, but the cap falling in the way of SunSister. The unthinkable right now. XQQ with a huge ultimate.
Yeah, magically finding RQT was the big one there. Even though he didn't have his res, that's a lot of healing cut out, but Blank, similar fashion, they're gonna contest.
Last second contest, look at that. The point is so close to capping over right now. They need to come up with some kills very quickly into this, or it's gonna be all she wrote for cap number 1 here. Zetman sending Gumba back to spawn as well. Eat Up, what is going on here? He thinks he's playing Tracer in this situation. He's forgotten that he's still on Widowmaker. Picking that kill up though. Nice little bit of I guess showcasing the skill there, but SunSister picking themselves up the first cap.
Yeah, well, showcasing skill or not, you still lose the first point, and now, even though SunSister would like to be in a stronger position at this moment, they still got the first point off Blank, which is pretty amazing for them, I've got to say. But Blank, they're still not swapping up this composition. They still reckon Eat Up on Widowmaker is got to be the way to go to shut them down. Yeah, okay, you can still use the Infrasight, but it's not the most impactful ultimates during a lot of these team fights. Now, XQQ, remember his last Dragon Strike, it essentially won the team fight for his team, and there's a lot of long, straight corridors. You can actually shoot it down here on King's Row.
Oh, Dragon Blade's now coming out from both of these players. Who's going to come up with more, though? Odin going to be finding that kill onto RQT, so that's going to be a big one. One of the supports down, obviously, on the side of Blank. The rest of the team are actually following suit now. So Odin really coming out on top of this one, I feel. Really sending Blank's offense back. But, Eat Up is not done just yet. Finding that shot onto him. Still in a very strong position, and the pressure comes onto him, but he easily is able to escape right now. What is going on here?
You know, the important thing during pretty much all of that fight, SunSister weren't able to move the payload just thanks to Trill, just flying around the payload itself. However, they are going to get a little bit of distance after winning that fight. Eat Up is still not on the high ground. It's going to be very easy to contest here. RQT coming up to that res has got to be a high priority target. XQQ, no Dragon Strike to single him out this time, but Eat Up with that pick should be enough.
Now, Eat Up, though, going to be picking up Mollis early into this one. Now, the Transcendence will be used from SunSister, so they're really going to be committing into this fight. But Blank use a Transcendence of their own. Great stuff there from Trill, landing the self-destruct, picking himself up a pair. And now Blank stabilizing off the back of this piece of defense, and now looking to get aggressive as well. Can Eat Up land that shot very close, but no cigar.
I want to talk about that self-destruct as well, because it was actually pretty deliberately placed right on that corner in that corridor where members of SunSister thought they'd be safe. But hey, look at that. That was not a lucky self-destruct. That was definitely intended to be placed there. Now, moving into this, what have SunSister got to go off? A sound barrier to keep themselves alive? RQT's got a res, which is arguably better because I don't see SunSister picking up any kills on top blank.
Taken out early into this one. A-Tai getting nice resets there, taking out 2 squishies very simply. The resurrection though as well to keep the fight going for blank. No worries here. Should surely be able to clean this one up. Mollis trying to snake his way up onto the cart. Not today, A-Tai says. And blank still stabilizing. 20 seconds left. This is surely going to be the last fight for SunSister. But blank getting so aggressive right now. Will they even let them touch the payload?
Well, if they can take the fight early here, even if they lose a few members, they can just respawn in time to contest the payload. But here's the Dragon Blades.
Coming out from both players there. The Dragon Strike not finding enough with it. Mollis already eating a couple of shots. Make that. It actually is 2. It actually is a couple. I was not lying to you right there. Good stuff there to stop Mollis from touching the cart, keeping this one into overtime. 1 second left. Eat Up to spawn camping them. And blank going to be holding that down and picking themselves up King's Row. But they did lose the first cap.
Apart from the first cap, it looked pretty solid for blank there. Straight after they made it through the archway, SunSister did manage to win a fight, which is also not the most fantastic result for blank, but then they definitely came back in spectacular fashion, winning a lot of fights, not using a huge amount of resources, really utilizing RQT and that res as well, just to show how much they can just frag without their ultimates, and then if things go a little bit wrong, they've got the insurance policy.
Oh, he just looks at home on Genji, does he not?
Yep, I think so. I mean, like, yeah, he did a pretty good job, right?
He always does a pretty good job.
Pretty good job. I mean, every time, we saw it actually quite often, both Dragon Blades came out, and one of the Genjis got a lot more work done.
Well, I mean, coming off that though, Odin-kun actually, I think, came ahead on one of the fights there, and actually that's when SunSister got to make a bit of movement with the card, or on the first checkpoint. I can't remember.
It was during the payload phase, right? You go in. They went in forwards. I think blank was still just kind of struggling to get in, and they lost quite a few members. I think their own Dragon Blade was shut down for that. But the other big thing is that Eat Up was on that Widowmaker, never able to contest the point. So it was actually just Kiki having to fly around the payload quite often and play defensively rather than trying to get any kills at all.
So also as well, blank losing the first point. Do we feel that's a mistake from blank, or SunSister being really good?
I think blank are running not their top tier composition. They're running more the fact that Eat Up played 100% Widowmaker on both attack and defense. So I was going to also say, on their attack as well, they only managed to cap out with about 1 minute remaining. It is still good from blank. It's not like I'll put it this way, they weren't trying to win as hard as they really could have, because if they were, they would have been playing Eat Up on Tracer, they would have been playing A-Tai and Genji the whole. I think he did anyway, but you know what I mean? Like they would have been playing a lineup that is more typical of what we've seen so far in King's Row. So while, yeah, they probably shouldn't have let the first cap go, at the same time, it's like, I think SunSister just did well on their attack to be able to get that too, so I don't want to take anything away from them.
Yeah, really got to, I guess, hand it to XQQ's Dragon Strikes there, I guess being the XQQ factor, for SunSister being able to cap that one out, really catching RQT out. But this is something we also talked about yesterday. You see coming out from RQT there on his Mercy, I don't think he ever res more than sort of 2 players at once. I think throughout, even since map number 1 as well, he's really been on top of those sort of tempo reses, only looking for 1 or 2 players, and then blank obviously just continue to roll the fight through. And we saw yesterday, I believe it was, I think it was the AHQ match, and we saw the waiting going on for three heroes, and obviously it doesn't really work out too well when you're already losing the fight there.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the lineups, right, the big thing clearly is, as Avril said, right, the Widowmaker being played constantly by blank, clearly not what they would run if they were playing up against AHQ. And back to the meta conversation we're having before about like predictions of how AHQ would pick the maps up against blank depending on this series, what information they could gather from it. If blank don't play their optimal composition on King's Row, there's nothing that AHQ are going to be able to gather from that.
Blank also played Mercy 100%, which they wouldn't normally do here either, so that was different. What RQT was doing on Mercy as well was mainly damage boosting I eat you up, so he wasn't even really prioritizing healing that much. He was swapping off the healing when required because eat up doesn't need that much sustain. He doesn't need that much babysitting. So yeah, that was also different. That's not something Blank usually do, and they still won rather comfortably on a composition they would not normally. They definitely are not going to run this against AHQ. I think, like, we've already previously discussed, if AHQ are here to look for information, they're not going to get much out of what they just saw.
I mean, the other thing sort of to note there as well, I mean, I talked about Atar's Pharah looking a little bit more polished on Ilios, but I think, Trill and Kiki together looking very, the chemistry's definitely there. I mean, it always has been there, obviously, being such a long-standing team, but it definitely was sort of showcased in that King's Row there, the way that they were sort of, one of them would engage, then fall back, the other one would engage, and sort of they would dictate the fights where they wanted to take them 9 times out of 10. So I think that's something that looks really polished, obviously coming up against AHQ. That's going to be really important because AHQ obviously have some of the best tank players, if not the best tank players in the entire tournament.
The thing is, when you're playing up against AHQ though, you're going to be punished if you make a mistake on your engagement. If you go in and say like, oh, Kiki come in just after I leave, but you're not enough to tank up that first fight, you'll die. Because whether you're Winston or not, like that cooldown on that jump is not enough to get you out, and not enough to get you out if they punish you for that. If they've got a lot of damage as you jump in and you don't get anything out of it, that is something that is always punished, because Jongi is probably the best Winston in the tournament and gets punished not very often at all.
Well, Blank leading the series as expected, 2-0 coming up against SunSister. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we return, we're going to have map number 3 will be Blank's pick on top of that. Hello and welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship Week 6, day number 3. I'm Dallas Easy Fighter. Joining me is Matt Smite Ross and Kevin Averill Walker. We're currently in Blank Esports taking on SunSister. Very tough matchup, obviously, for SunSister. Blank leading 2-0. Next map going to be Blank's pick. And SunSister looking like they're really trying to climb Mount Everest while naked.
Well, this is potentially the very last match of the second round robin. Yeah, don't.
Oh, they've done it. So Blank, just before we went to break, I was pleading with the lads here, being like, I really hope Blank pick Anubis because they looked absolutely shocking against AHQ last time they played this one. So
also,
good stuff.
Also against Marchi on the defensive side of things, Marchi capped 5 points against Blank.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So literally a double cap going into the...
Marchi won.
Yeah, Marchi, they also won, which is a pretty terrifying thing for Blank on Temple of Anubis as well. But they won by capping 5 points. So while Blank's attack was, it was up to scratch, seeing as they got 4 points captured as well, Marchi just did it that much better. It was almost like Blank's defense wasn't there. So now we're back on the Temple of Anubis. Let's see if it's going to be there.
Well, this might come down to sort of what Averill talked about before with, Eat-Up's Widowmaker being quite predictable in Ilios. I think it might have been a similar situation. I think Eat-Up was quite predictable on his Tracer and his positioning there, and I think, if I remember correctly, I think it was when Marchi just sort of ran up into the sort of high ground up the stairs there and just instantly fragged him, already had that man advantage, and we've seen obviously how Eat-Up can sort of be that backbone for Blank, and without him being there, very difficult for them to get back into it. They got obviously that next chance to try and change things up, but nothing much was different. It seems their first point defense really does require a lot of work. So we are moments away from getting in and seeing if they have worked out some of these kinks. If SunSister, I'm just going to say the word, smash them on point number 1. Woo!
That's going to be a story to tell, because as well, if SunSister have any modicum of success on Temple of Anubis here, if Blank show any weakness against the team that is literally at the bottom of the table right now, AHQ are going to be looking at this for their next series thinking, well, we get to pick the assault against Blank. If they don't look too good on Temple of Anubis, and we beat them last time on Temple of Anubis,
and they lost the match on Temple of Anubis,
let's pick Temple of Anubis. So Blank...
Smite predicts yet again.
I mean, I'm getting kind of meta there, but like, Blank picking it has to show something, right? It must be Blank showing that they have to be very proficient on this. They've got to have something new. Well, not even necessarily new, but improved coming onto Temple of Anubis, because...
You want to get meta?
Master Averill and Kenobi.
Getting meta would be Blank doing the exact same thing they've always ever done on Temple of Anubis, and then when HQ finally play them, Temple of Anubis is like, surprise!
Surprise!
We've been saving
Bastion! Torbjorn!
Torbjorn, Symmetra. I think that's a little bit too meta.
I don't know, man. Like back in the
part,
early
but-
days of Overwatch, I used to do this thing like sitting at the front gates in those choke points there, and either play Symmetra and just shoot balls through it, or just play Junkrat and just bounce them off the front pillar.
I still do that to this day.
You still do this now?
Of course I do. It works, right?
I mean,
but
maybe if for anyone that's below like 2K.
still gets you an immediate teleporter, which is the most important part. But Blank, even if they are just gonna do maybe a bit of a repeat where they don't perform too well on Temple of Anubis, even if they win, if they
No,
don't,
no, they perform extremely well, doing exactly what they do, which then makes HQ think, well, this is exactly what they're going to do, because they've always done it. And then it allows Blank, if they want to do something different that HQ won't be expected.
So that's the story of this entire series, where Blank are playing they're playing this insane mind game right now with AHQ. They're throwing out all these predictable and readable strats, so AHQ think they've got them figured out, and then they're just going to throw a massive spanner in the works and be like, haha. Actually,
or they just run eat
we've
you
been
up.
practicing quad tank lineup.
What's the fourth tank gonna be, like Orisa? Zarya?
Oh no, quad tank back in the day was Ryan, Winston, Hog, and Zaya. That was quad tank back in the day. And Diva, yeah, Diva wasn't still, maybe Diva was good, I can't remember, but quad tank was essentially that. That's a few metas and patches ago now, though, gentlemen. So
That's a very long time ago, back in the world of tanks.
in
but
today's meta, though,
in today's
I've
meta,
not seen that.
we could potentially just also see the same thing that we saw on King's Row. Eat Up being on Widowmaker 100% of the time. RQT just playing Mercy just to shut down. Because
Yeah, why
Mercy also punishes SunSister's lack of focus at getting towards RQT, identifying the win condition for Blank, which quite often will revolve around, if we're losing a team fight, we've got a res so we can swing things back in our favor. But if SunSister are never able to find RQT, then that's never even needed. And the few times they do find a few kills, the res is just going to swing it back in their favor, unless it's so one-sided that you're just getting rezzed in to die again. But against SunSister, I don't think Blank are going to let that happen.
Well, we can't be too sure, obviously, because when I was thinking their Machi series, and I was like, okay, Machi, you know, they took the two maps, they picked up the double cap, you know, there. Surely it's not going to happen again. Happens again. I mean, it is the nature, and it's obviously the nature of Overwatch, and I mean, it's the nature of some of these Japanese teams, you know, every now and again, they just give you the old surprise. We actually are in the OPC, so anything can obviously happen. Anything can obviously happen coming into this one. But Blank, surely, you know, they have had some time to sort of, you know, go back to the drawing board, work out those kinks that they have sort of run into on Anubis. So we are going to be moments away from jumping into Temple Anubis, or whenever the players are ready to sort of get underway with this. Any sort of final points, gentlemen?
Speaking of surprises, we haven't touched on what XQQ is going to bring out, and
Is he even playing with the rest of his team?
that's...
I feel like he's on a separate content channel.
I mean, funnily enough, in their interview, that question was brought up, and they kind of mentioned that they do sort of let XQQ just run with his own flow of things, and they kind of follow that. Now, that doesn't seem to be working out to their favor at all, and with the amount of heroes this guy changes to, it's almost like the opposite of the Zonda problem, where he can play everything, but you don't want him to. You don't want him to play everything. You just want him just execute on Genji. Does a fine job.
Well, it's like the same problem but worse, because it's like he can't really play anything, and also you just want him to stick onto something.
Exactly. just stick on Genji and he'll do fine. And I think during one of the series yesterday, I think it was against Fireball, maybe not even yesterday, but one of his latest series where he was bringing out all of these oddball picks, and it was just kind of baffling. And as soon as he started playing more standard, playing back to that Genji.
I correct myself, it's the complete opposite of the Zonda problem, because Zonda is the best at everything and you want him to play everything, but he can only play one thing. So it's a complete opposite problem.
I think obviously, you know, coming up against Blank, you know, this is where they can't really do that whole XQQ, you know, playing a bunch of different stuff, as you've mentioned, you know. You want them to stick on something solid, and you want them to essentially try as hard as they possibly can, you know, throw all they've got at Blank. You know, don't run a Hanzo on the offense like we saw on King's Row. You know, run full dive, run obviously something that you know that works a little bit better. So Blank have to obviously, you know, you want to force Blank into obviously playing, you know, their real strategy. You want Force to try hard back at you, and I think that's like the issue that SunSister are sort of having at the moment. They're trying to sort of come up with these sort of gimmicky offenses, which are obviously, you know, they might work against Detonator Gold, obviously not, though they're still sitting on 0 wins, but there's no way it's going to work coming up against Blank.
I mean, bringing it back to Detonator Gold as well, I said this at the opening of the match, they had to be feeling pretty gosh darn bad about that matchup, right? It was the one place that they could find a win realistically, and they didn't manage to get it. It was a 3-0, and even on some of those maps, it was entirely possible for them to actually bring it back. It was actually close, especially on King's Row. So you've got to be feeling just a little bit demoralized in that. And now you're up against a team that's, maybe after this matchup, the very top of the table, and you're now down 2-0. So maybe this is the point where they are just throwing out whatever they can think of to break down the brick wall of Blank, because playing standard against Blank, playing standard, is clearly not working. It's like playing Widowmaker against Eat You Up's Widowmaker. Like, you've got to do something different to make it work.
This is something as well. We don't really see Blank play Sombra off at all, right? At all.
Second point of Anubis, I think they do.
Sometimes they bring it out. It's not often anymore. They used to bring it out on Oasis quite a bit on University, but even now, teams when they do play University are kind of debating whether that's worth it anymore. A lot of teams are not also doing that. I think Blank probably bring it out less than other teams, just because why? Like, what the stuff they do bring out right now is so good. They don't need it. They don't need gimmicks to win right now. They're just good enough that they just win.
I don't expect to see them bring it out against SunSister today, unless once more they're trying to hide something from AHQ during the series, but I don't see it coming out against SunSister because, like Avril said, they can just play standardly. They can just play whatever they need to win, especially the second point, where they don't need to worry about those health packs being hacked. They don't need to worry about EMPs to win these team fights. They'll be fine just team fighting on their own. So while previously, Blank have played a few Sombra picks, I don't think it's going to be impactful at all in this series.
So if you are just joining us, this is the final match of round robin number 2. Potentially, let's be real here. I predicted 3-0. My predictions are always correct.
Are they? Well, this time they might be.
Well, this is potentially the last match of the second round robin. Blank taking on SunSister. We're just about to get into Temple of Anubis. Coming up after this, though, is going to be the first match of round robin number 3, going to be AHQ taking on Blank Esports, and AHQ will have that home team advantage as well. So this is going to be very important, obviously, as we have talked about the momentum that Blank are trying to build, coming up against AHQ, sort of being one of their big rivals in the tournament, which have really sort of stepped up their game immensely. Then finally after that will be Marchi taking on Fireball in a rematch of last night. But going to be interesting to see if Blank have really worked out their 0.1 defense issues here on Anubis.
It's not even 0.1 either, it's 0.2 as well. It's kind of tied into how they handle the end of 0.1 defense, where they do just try and struggle to keep that point alive, and essentially hand over ult charge for free snowball for the enemy team to just immediately take 0.2. Well, with that mercy there, I'm calling it. I think that's going to be Blank on defense first. Hey, look at that. I'm right. Eat You Up on the defensive Widowmaker. This is going to be a repeat of King's Row, I believe. Maybe not necessarily in results, but in terms of composition, Blank, they're just playing this one again.
I do not want to see XQQ on the Hanzo.
He might swap.
Oh.
Okay, Widowmaker, that's
Beauty.
That's a bit more understandable. SunSister, maybe not expecting the Widowmaker this time. They do just kind of walk into that one, so they do need to back off. They need to give up their own positioning and just come back and wait. It's essentially just about 15 seconds worth of time that Blank have bought, but also ult charge onto that infra site, which while we talk about it not swinging fights necessarily, it can actually impact the way a team is pathing to try and get the positioning up to take this point. So earlier the better for this infra site.
Well, let's see if Eat Up can finish this fight off before it even starts again. Just probing for some shots up in the back lines here, while the rest of these Blank members got the two tanks just going to be holding up in the one tank rather, sorry, or the two tanks, sorry, rather, holding up at the front gates. They're just waiting for SunSister to commit their attack before they leap in. Infra site already going to be up right now for Eat Up, so going to be able to throw that out, and they're going to be able to get a very good read onto this next fight. Zetman getting a bit aggressive there, does actually escape with his life. That's a very rare occasion indeed.
Well, at least he got out alive, which is a good thing, right? But both of these Widowmakers have essentially just been fighting themselves. Eventually, we saw Zetman go up and contest Eat-Up, which is fantastic, but Eat-Up is surely just back up in a nice perch where he can be completely
RQT
safe.
getting really low. XQQ going to be able to finish him off with that, but they find Zetman, so Winston going to be out of this fight here for SunSister. Interesting to see if they're going to commit into this as Atar looking to punish now the rest of SunSister without that front line that they had there. The Dragon Blade already up as well for Atar, so very good stuff there. But Mollis finding the kill onto Eat-Up up in the back lines. Now Blank can really try to find him while he's left alone, and indeed they do. Surely this now is not going to be a fight that SunSister can win, but they do commit into going to it. They're going to be giving a lot of charge away, and Atar hitting the Dragon Blade just to finish up a couple of these members. Not too worried because he wants to build another one.
And also the rest of his team have a fair amount of ults too, so they can afford to throw out the Dragon Blade in that situation. Not the most optimal way to do it, but they could afford to do it. Now SunSister themselves, they are looking a little bit awkward right now because Dragon Blade is enough to go in with, but they have to find RQT, otherwise all of his kills are just going to be completely nullified. XQQ has found RQT before, but he needs to do it once more.
Well, they have used the Emperor Sight, so they should be able to locate him quite simply in this one. Oh, if he managed to land that shot onto Atar, things would have been looking very good for the SunSister side. They need to make some moves, and they need to make them quickly here. Time's obviously ticking down. Don't want to keep feeding all this charge to Blank as they're just sitting pretty up on the point. Wallace dropping very low here. Can he manage to escape with his life? Atar being pushed all the way back almost into point number 2. The Primal Rage coming over. Odinkun throwing that self-destruct onto Eat-Up on the point there. Atar getting taken out as well by Zetman. Sound barrier as well. XQQ now has a great high ground position. Instantly pressured off though by the likes of Kiki. He's going to be falling as well. And Blank trying to hold onto this. It's going to be looking quite good for them as they force Zetman back off the point as well. Looking like SunSister could almost get themselves the cap there.
Yeah, the fight just simply didn't turn away in favor of Blank. Atar was way out of range for RQT's res, so he only brought it up to a 5v6, and SunSister with the numbers advantage had just every advantage in the world there. Also picking up a kill much earlier on with the self-destruct set them up for this one. And the fact that Atar just got pushed so far back, and hey look, I said we might not be able to see it, but it is going to be a Sombra coming up for Atar. I have to pick that early so that you can start hacking all of these health packs just to deny any flankers any kind of healing, but it's really only Mollis who's going to be using those.
So with 30 seconds left there on checkpoint number 1, SunSister do pick themselves up the cap. Eat-Up switching over onto the Tracer now, so a little bit more stable defense coming out now from Blank. Obviously, Atar being the sort of change that we haven't really seen. The self-destruct coming in from Odinkun there, seeing if he can really probe any of these Blank members, sending them back into spawn there. But nothing really now coming up in the way. As I say that though, XQQ finds the pick onto Eat-Up, and this is a great start now for SunSister trying to work their way into checkpoint number 2.
But they need to capitalize on it. Eat-Up's dead, and now Kiki's dead as well. SunSister need to sprint onto the point with all the might they have because Eat-Up is already back. Just kidding, he's dead.
He's sent back to spawn again by XQQ. Atar though picking up Night Owl in the backline still. Finally, there's going to be some contests coming out onto XQQ. He's not worried at all. Sends Trill back to spawn as well, but the rest of his team are dropping down on the point. Very unlucky for him. So Trill paying with his life will be enough to take out all of these SunSister members. Now will be Kiki jumping straight onto him, forcing him back to the rest of his team, getting that position back for Blank, and now they can set up a solid piece of defense.
Yeah, SunSister also with those picks, they aggressed a little bit, found Kiki, but just by the time they found Kiki, EU-Up was already back, and yeah, he got sniped, but oh, that was close.
I did win for a great little crouch there actually, I think, which stopped that headshot from nicking through.
I'd love to see a replay of that to see if we can actually crouched there. That would have been
went full
cool,
Matrix.
But yeah, but Blank in that last fight, even though they did lose a few members at the start of it, they managed to clean things up without even using any of their ultimates. Now Anubis has come out.
Looking to give Kiki enough charge to get his ultimate up there. Eat-Up does have the pulse bomb as well. Now XQQ in a good position, trying to rain shots down onto the Blank side, but the rest of his team getting caught out here by Kiki's Primal Rage. Night Owl's already down into this one. Zetman taken out as well. Surely should be able to find themselves Elu, which indeed they do. And XQQ's Widowmaker, and although it is finding them a pick, here and there, it's not enough sustained damage to really push them through these fights. I think we really need to see him change off their Widowmaker.
SunSister are really dedicated to this though, because you can see Odenkin is on that Roadhog as well, looking for those hooks to get an early kill, and then combine that with XQ, who can also find those early kills, then they can just run in with a numbers advantage, but they need to find those picks quite close together. And the good thing is that they can go for different targets, right? XQ can go for the smaller targets, get those headshots, and get the one-shot kills. And Odenkin can hook up the tanks, specifically Kiki, just to one-shot him, take him out of the fight.
Well, SunSister need to take this next fight apart, because otherwise they're going to be eating Atar's EMP. Mollis with the Dragon Blade up in the back lines, looking to pick himself up a frag here without even committing the Dragon Blade. Indeed, it will be Gumba, but already now being pressured yet again by Kiki. Good reactive play continuously coming from Kiki on the Winston there. And XQQ still sitting up in the back lines, finding a couple of pot shots out here, but still the rest of his ground squad are down, and they can't get themselves any cap if there's only a Widowmaker left.
The strategy of finding these two picks pretty close together is realistically, it's risky at best. Like, you're not going to find it consistently, and you can already see that they've only found it once, and they didn't even manage to capitalize on it from there. Blank also, because these fights are usually going so much in their favor because of the lack of consistency for SunSister's goal, means they're just constantly at an ultimate advantage.
Jump barrier for SunSister to move into this one. The Dragon Blade coming out, nicely timed self-destruct, but it is going to pick himself up a triple kill there. Mollis going to be able to clean up these players. Odenkin able to finish off another one now. Hits the whole hog. Also, on top of this, will he be able to force Blank back? They're getting themselves a lot of cap here. Where are these Blank players? And SunSister, with 22 seconds left, capped the second checkpoint. Blank are not going to be happy with this one, but SunSister can be patting themselves on the back. What a great success.
They can be patting themselves on the back, but at the end of the day, they really want a win here. And if that happens, it's really going to set Blank back like 20 years. But look at SunSister, right? You can see them on the screen right now. They are dead serious. They can be happy with that result. You're absolutely correct, but the match is only halfway over because Blank's turn to attack is going to be a lot more standard than their first point defense, right? You saw a Widowmaker on defense, you saw RKT playing that Mercy, and as soon as those targets were just a little bit focused, pushed out of position, then the fight was lost for them. But on attack, you've got a whole lot more room to do that. And if Blank, after losing the second point, say, okay, it's time to play a little bit. Not that they weren't playing seriously, because the second point looked like they had already turned into that serious mode, but it's where their compositions are going to be less seeing what they can get away with and more, we need to win, we need to smash SunSister and show absolutely no more weakness on Temple of Anubis.
I would personally like to see a little bit more composure from them. I mean, I'd like to see them come out with that aggression that you've just spoken about. But I mean, if they still go for a little bit of a mixed match lineup, show this is the whole like that hectic sort of mind game they're playing right now, you know? Play the mind games with AHQ are obviously watching the match. Play a less, you know, don't play your best lineup, you know, make it look like you're struggling against the worst team in the tournament on Anubis. Let AHQ pick Anubis and then bust out the real strategy. But again, I still feel like Anubis is actually a really big weakness for Blank.
But if they focus too much on these mind games in the match that's actually coming up, they could very well let Temple of Anubis just slip away. But we're going to be moving into this one. And SunSister, they're running a lot of dive on that defense. But Blank, it's going to be eat up on that Widowmaker. They are still running RQT as well. Expect him to be damage boosting eat up for the majority of this fight. And remember, as Avril said earlier, Eat Up does go into very predictable places, and there is Mollis.
But yeah, because of that SunSister lineup, really good heroes to really put that pressure straight onto Eat Up. But Eat Up, very aggressive himself, not too worried, looking to get that kill and finish off XQQ on the Genji there. RQT going to be forced back. Where's the rest of the team? Great stuff from SunSister to be able to dive onto RQT, slowing this offense down ever so slightly, but Zetman dropping, and now the mech being taken out as well as Odenkun. This is now looking like Blank can really push in onto this next fight. You know, both the front line tanks going to be taken out, so but Blank's still going to have to wait for RQT.
Yeah, with the run back as well for SunSister, they should be about halfway back by now, but Blank could have capitalized on that. They get a few more kills. There should be enough for them to just go in, and especially if Eat Up can just set up anywhere on any of these high ground points, it should be all but over for this first point for SunSister, and rightly so. They are backing off and not allowing any more ultimate charge to go over to Blank.
Well, somehow SunSister do drop that one out. They did manage to pick themselves up a couple of good early frags into that defense, but Blank obviously too well-rounded here. Now Infosite coming through, allowing Blank to really set up for this second point offense now.
And in similar fashion, Edup's going to stick on that Widowmaker onto the second point as well. SunSister, though, did rack up a few ultimates of their own. They're getting close to XQQ's Dragon Blade, which will be able to contest up against Edup as well. But also, they've got so many tanks just flying up at Edup, pushing them off that high plane. And don't forget, RQT's up there with them too.
Oh, Pulse Bomb almost finding its mark there, but now Blank have got themselves up here. The Transcendence now coming through to really help them push into this one. XQQ sent back to the spawn as well. The rest of these now SunSister players just going to be staggering out of the spawn room as Zetman drops on top of that. Now Blank capping extremely quickly. Is anyone there from SunSister to stop it? No, they are not. And Blank with 6 minutes 30 left. Extremely fast double cap.
It's about as fast as Marchi took 2 points against them. Ooh. Bit of a burn there. Sorry, Blank. But the point of the matter is, we're going to time bank on Temple of Anubis with Blank against SunSister. That is just not a sentence I thought I'd ever hear myself say. But SunSister, they managed to do it. They did manage to cap up that 2 points. But the big difference is the time that they're going to have in time bank, right? I'd say realistically, SunSister have got enough time to maybe cap the first point. I don't see them capping the second point. But Blank with 6 minutes, which is more than you start with, they should surely be able to cap 2 points.
I mean, most definitely, as well, the fact that they're still playing, you know, eat up 100% Widowmaker. That in itself is obviously, it's very telling, obviously, for what Blank are going for. They are still not revealing, you know, the true strategy, you know, putting eat up onto the Tracer, you know, ATAR, Genji, etc., etc.
Unless this is the true strategy, right? I mean, perhaps this is just Blank playing Temple of Anubis in the way that they see as the best, right? And maybe even trying to intimidate AHQ a little bit, but if that's the plan, then it's surely not working. Look at that, turret at the start, battle tank mode.
Surely.
No, it's gonna swap.
And then that's why XQQ is playing his own game. The Pharah now coming through. So I like the change up here from SunSister, obviously only having a minute left on the clock on their time bank, but Edup actually switching over to a Pharah of itself. Nice read there from XQQ, managing to just leap around the corner and land that rocket onto the pharmacy combo he's going to have to try and deal with.
This is a little more traditional from Blank on the defense, running the pharmacy combo, but the air battle, it's actually won. So now they can actually move on, storm the point, and like I said, cap that first point. They've got a numbers advantage.
And with the Edup falling down, you know, that's a lot of damage coming through from that Pharah there, but ATAR taking Zetman yet again, the first to fall in a lot of these fights. Taken out already. Now XQQ, a lot of pressure being put on him, doesn't have the mercy to heal him up here, has to do a lot of self-sustain. Finally, the Lucio of Elu going to be able to catch him and heal him back up to full. Wallace trying to jump straight onto ATAR. ATAR dropping low, gets taken out by Adinkun, and now this is going to be a good chance for SunSister to push their way in. It's overtime ticking through. Nice pulse grenade, nice bio grenade rather, to be landing onto Elu there, so they do pick that kill up onto him. Self-destruct now being thrown out by Odinkin, but doesn't pick up any kills with it. Now ATAR killing the Mollusk Genji here. This is going to be huge, as now he's got the Dragon Blade up to work with, hacking and slashing at Odinkin's mech as well. So that's out of this fight. There shouldn't be any stagger left for the side of SunSister. Overtime ticks down, and SunSister do not cap the first point.
Well, this puts them in a pretty daunting situation, because Blank now have over 6 minutes to cap not just the first point, but only 1/3 of it. I don't believe SunSister got any progress at all, so Blank can seriously run almost whatever they want with 6 minutes to go onto this point right now. They could, they'll probably run pretty standard, probably run just what they were going with before, because it worked pretty well. Edup got some shots in pretty early. SunSister do show signs of contesting Edup, which is nice, because Edup does demand a lot of attention, and the way that they run RQT up there with them as well means that if you do send someone up there, you're also scaring off the Mercy as well, taking them off that perch, making them a little bit more vulnerable. So they are showing signs of being able to do that, but clearly in results, it's not working out for them.
Well, we'll see what they're going to be doing here. We've seen the Reaper come out once before from the side of Blank. Would love to see it again here. Probably very unlikely though.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I wish it would happen. Oh my god.
Oh, Arista defense. It's happening.
All right, we're going into it, boys.
Oh, with
It's
the Torbjorn.
XQQ with the Torbjorn and the Orisa. Oh, well,
Locked and loaded, ready to rumble. Let's go.
it's not doubled up with the Reinhardt now, so the shields are actually, you're going to be able to break them. You're going to be able to break through them. Blank are going to be running Trill on the McCree. This is something we haven't seen for quite a while. This is also triple DPS. McCree into these 3 pretty high hit point tanks. It's going to be quite hard for him to find any kills, especially once Elu does start racking up that armor on a lot of his teammates.
Well, Edup's managed to blink his way into the point, has now got a read on where the turret is placed. Just trying to pick up that kill onto Mollis, but Mollis going to be finding Kiki as he jumps in. Very frisky-like, but look at that, that's going to be Mollis taken down. But the return trade by Zetman, all over that. And now XQQ going to be able to land a lot of decent damage up into the front lines, but Atar going to be taking him out of this one. Still, no one really dealing with the turret just yet.
Well, I mean, it's behind a barrier, right? It's going to be pretty hard to deal with unless someone gets up there, starts flanking it. Then your best bet for that is going to be Kiki on the Winston. Otherwise, no one can really shoot it down from long range. So it's going to be pretty annoying to take down. But hey, look at that. Trill is also going to be there to pick up a kill and a turret.
That was really good, obviously, by Blank there, jumping onto Elu as he was so close to the Molten Core. Didn't even really get much of the armor thrown out to the rest of the team, so pretty good timing on that. But the rest of SunSister are there to rack up these kills onto Blank. What is absolutely going on? Now, SunSister have really sort of worked out their defensive strategy, Blank getting themselves just a slight amount of cap time, but still, SunSister holding it down. That Fortify on XQQ doing a great job at staggering these fights out.
The other thing as well is that they're not running a Lucio because they've got a Torbjorn, so they have a big lack of healing.
Well, the Dragon Blade now from Atar up the back there, going to be taking Elu out of this fight again. He actually got the Molten Core baited out as well, so good stuff there. And the sound barrier now for the side of Blank, letting them push into this one. But this is going to, well, it was almost Mollis hitting his Dragon Blade until Atar was all over him right there. And now, this is Blank coming up with a lot of kills onto checkpoint number 1. The cap is falling, and that's going to be it. Blank pick up the series 3-0 against SunSister, but SunSister with a little bit of a surprise there.
SunSister double capping against Blank was definitely a surprise to me, definitely a surprise to a lot of fans, and hopefully a pleasant surprise for AHQ as well, because let's not forget, I said this earlier today, that AHQ are going to be the home team against Blank, which means they're going to pick these maps that Blank have. So map 1, not too much of a giveaway, but this map here on Temple of Anubis, AHQ could absolutely pick this up against Blank, and it has been shown to be not a fantastic pickup for them.
That's a pretty good sequence here from Edup. Didn't even need to use the Pulse Bomb as well. Just slapping SunSister down to size. But yeah, I don't think that Blank, even if they were to run a normal composition, you know, they still show, I guess, a lot of signs of weakness on Anubis.
Well, the big sign of weakness was realistically on that second point where they did run pretty normal, right? So we say that we don't normally see them run Sombra, but we do see it on second point Anubis.
Yeah, I mean, everyone else at this stage kind of does run it. At least all the other top teams in the competition do regularly run it. So it is a more normalized strategy. It is a more acceptable thing that teams do. So the fact that they couldn't complete a full hold with it, maybe a couple questions there, but it's not super concerning. I think their first hold was a lot more of them not pulling out something standard for themselves, and they would have had a lot more extra time on that first cap had they come out with something more standard, which then would have bought them more time on the second cap anyway to defend, and maybe then they would have successfully had it with that Sombra comp.
Do you see them running the Widowmaker on the defense against, you know, a team like AHQ?
Probably not. I just don't think Widowmaker has any really pressure to actually be able to prevent a cap. I mean, you're essentially, the sight lines aren't fantastic either. I think offensively you can really use it to push your territory. You can take a lot of area control with it, but defensively, like, you're defending area. It's a really different kind of story, so no.
Yeah, the other story, right, as well is there's a lot of dive comps coming out when you're running Widowmaker on defense. Your position is going to be compromised almost constantly. I mean, you think people focus on soldiers, they dive on Widowmakers a heck of a lot more, and you're just constantly looking for that new place to find that high ground. So I don't think Widowmaker's got a fantastic pick on defense, and I don't think Blank are going to pick it up against AHQ.
Also, Infrasight does nothing for you on defensively to either contest a point or give you good information, because teams only ever attack one of two real ways. I mean, it's very predictable regardless. So the ultimate is a bit of a write-off.
Well, Blank picking themselves up their 12th win, I believe. We'll have a quick look at the leaderboard there. So Blank sitting on 12-2, equal with AHQ. That's going to finish up round robin number 2, with AHQ and Blank obviously sitting tied equal up the top.
But not for long.
Flash Wolves in 3rd, looking very comfortable there, but not for long obviously, because our next match is going to be AHQ taking on Blank Esports.
The winner will officially be number 1 so far to lead the day.
Yeah, I mean, just after seeing that leaderboard, right, you've got to remember what it was like after the round robin 1, where literally it was just a pyramid where every team had beaten everyone below them, and you could just predict the results off of that. And then round 2 comes out, opens up with a bang, Machi taking down Flash Wolves, and now, as we've been talking about a lot, there's these like 3 separate tiers on that leaderboard: the top 3, the middle 3, and then the bottom 2.
Well, the interesting thing to note there as well is, Machi and Hong Kong Attitude both sitting on 7-7. And so with Machi being our final match of the night, they're taking on Fireball. They already took Fireball down last night. If they can do so again, are they going to be, well, they will. They're going to be overtaking, if they win, will they get more wins than Hong Kong Attitude, who have 7 wins?
Good one there.
Who does
Easy.
maths? I do. That means they can.
The important thing about that matchup is just to show that they're going to be consistently playing at that level. We've also talked about if they do want to actually break up into that top 3 club, then they need to improve as much as they did from round robin 1 to round robin 2. But again, so moving into round robin 3, they need to make that improvement once more. Because, like we said, there's a big gap between 4th place and 3rd place. That's 3 wins. They're going to have to start picking up not just the wins against the teams that are around them in the same tier and then the Japanese teams below them, but also start taking wins off AHQ, Blank, Flash Wolves. They've already proven they can do it against Flash Wolves, but in a similar manner, Flash Wolves have improved just as much as Machi.
Got to prove it's not a fluke.
Exactly.
Well, I don't think for Machi, Machi's one might have been, Machi looking good, man. Machi looking good, but of course, big eat up getting the player of the game. 100% Widowmaker.
Yeah, well, in this series,
And a bit of Farah.
Yeah, there was a touch of that. A little bit of Tracer in the final parts of the Anubis, I think.
in this series, yeah, eat up on the Widowmaker definitely had the most impact because he was given the freedom to. I talk about how Widowmaker can be punished on defense. SunSister didn't do that, so Eat Up just got complete free reign.
More like they couldn't really, but...
They couldn't. They weren't being allowed to, which is what allowed Eat Up to get to that MVP status.
It's the Trill Kiki combo, I feel. They do a great job at sort of holding that front line. I sort of mentioned it coming off Kings Row. They're really good at being able to dictate, when they want to take the fights, where they want to take the fights. But obviously, coming up against a team like SunSister, should be able to do that regardless.
Yeah, it should be expected, right? Blank has just been an expected result against SunSister. That's all we can really say.
We do have the English interview coming up. No translation needed from Master Avril in this one.
那在我身边呢是邀请到了 The Esports 的 MVP 2号，那就是 Ata。
We're gonna have Ata.
Say hi to our fans.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Ata from Blank Esports.
好的，我们这里有准备了3个问题要访问他们。首先是因为他们今天 IG Up 的那个夺命女表现得非常好，那在队伍上是不是有一些战术的改变，跟大家分享一下？
Eat up on Widowmaker, carry the team today, pretty hard on different comps. How does your Genji fit into a Widow comp? Well, the Widow Mercy is like the most crucial part of that comp, and I'm just there to like either peel for it or distract and like make space, so that like Eat up can just like kill everyone basically, because he does it every time, and that's basically it.
多米尼在我们这个阵型里面是最重要的一部分。他是负责保护还有制造给多米尼发挥的空间。他也可以就是多米尼加慈悲，如果加慈悲的那个伤害增加的话，一枪是180。如果他再用一个原始的一个尾刀的话，就可以直接把人收掉。
刚刚观众应该也还蛮好奇，说为什么会在第3张地图的时候会使用双飞这个战术，跟大家分享一下。
Curious about why we picked Farah Mercy on Anubis on the second time.
Well, we just sort of went for like a surprise comp, and Eat-Up once again was like, sort of want to play Farah, so we just put him on it, and like we caught him off by surprise.
就是因为只有1分钟，我们希望选一个比较出其不意的一个阵型，然后那个我们是配合那个 IU 说他觉得他可以试试看法拉。
哦，原来是一个出其不意的战术就对了。那其实我们也知道说，在11月份的时候有一个世界杯嘛，听说我们的 Blink Esports 的教练本身就是委员会之一，会不会想要挑选自己队上的选手呢？
我身为委员会之一，那个我对我的队伍的选手都很有信心，所以
内举不避亲吗？
对，我会，如果我可以选择的话，我会选择直接把我们队伍送去世界杯。
全部。
是的。
好的，谢谢 Blink Esports 接受我们的访问。那下午场的比赛就在这边告一段落，晚上的第一场比赛可以说是世纪大战 ，AHQ 和 Blink Esports 要比出个高下，看看谁有资格在这个礼拜稳坐王位啦。那在这之前呢，我们还有一个采访区要来访问到的是 Blink Esports 的 I Eat You Up， 我们先休息一下。Thank you.
Yes, and welcome back. Hearing it straight from Atar, just wanting to do a few different sort of lineups there, when they put Eat-Up on the Pharaoh, something we don't usually see, just trying to catch SunSister off guard, which indeed, they did. Any sort of final points you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, the last question there was,
thank
you're
you.
one of the committee members, what's your plan? And Serenity's like, if I can, I'll pick the whole blank lineup.
That's, I mean, after their performance so far in the OPC, short of the few slip-ups against the other 2 top teams, you'll say that's not a bad idea, right? I think Blank can definitely perform at the World Cup. I don't think anyone would disagree with me there.
That's all from me, fellas. Signing out.
Obviously, coming out from, what was I going to say? It's really just if you're allowed to, pick up a full team, but I think you obviously are going to be able to do so. So I think that is, Australia are going to be looking
home turf as well.
Pretty crispy.
Playing in Sydney.
Yeah, I see that there's one of those games there. That should be pretty good to have them, having the home crowd backing them.
The Australian crowd backing Blank is going to be fantastic. I mean, IEM crowd looked amazing, and that was without an Australian team there. Imagine them cheering up against Blank, who are also a very, very successful Overwatch team.
And obviously coming up next, we're going to have AHQ taking on Blank Esports. This is obviously going to be the big one of the night. We are going to go to the couch interview, and then after that, we are going to take the break in between these 2 round robins here. When we return, you're going to be joined by the illustrious Pixie after the break.
You up from Blank Esports?
对这个问题，我们想要先问一下 IQ Up， 因为
I know the timing, bro. If you just let me say it, dude, I would.
那他是好像有听说爸爸是香港人吗？那这个部分可不可以跟大家聊一下？
Yeah, it's asking about your parentage. Since you look Asian compared to the rest of the team, what you got to say about that?
Yeah, my dad's from Hong Kong, and my mom's side is Cambodian.
他爸爸，他爸
Yeah, that's why
爸
I know Chinese.
他爸爸是香港人，然后他母亲是柬埔寨的，所以他也是从爸爸那边学会一点点中文。
哦，那可以请他用中文跟大家问个好。
You want to say hello in Chinese?
大家好，我是 Blank Esports 的 IU。
哇，非常不错，很亲切哦。那当然，其实今天的一个状况就是会发现 IQ Up 在场上很常使用夺命女。那在之前的一个比赛当中是比较少看到，是有做了什么样的一个调整吗？
In the last couple of days, we played a lot of Widowmaker, which we didn't in the previous matches. Did we make some changes?
Obviously, we made changes because I always play Tracer, and now I'm just on Widow. I could always Widow back then, but we just changed our comp because our other comps weren't working, I guess, and we just practiced these comps, and yeah, it's good against the triple DPS.
他是表示说，以前他常玩夺命女，然后但是现在自从比赛开始，他大概主要都是玩闪光，然后现在的话就是回到他以前熟悉的英雄。我们是做一些变更，因为我们上礼拜也有输过，所以我们做一些小变更，就是让他用夺命女。夺命女另外一个擅长点就是现在对刺客阵的时候，对两个输出、3个输出的阵型的时候，夺命女都会都可以有奇效，因为夺命女加那个慈悲的那个震撼加成的话，一枪就180滴血了，就人家就 就比如说闪光一枪就死了。
对，那当然我们有一个问题啊，就是说因为下一场比赛你们会对上的是 AHQ， 那在上一次比赛其实你们对他们情况之下，你们是没有能够拿下胜利。当然那一场比赛，我们后来在看的情况下，就 HQ 它是大量使用一个3-1-2，有一个教练有跟我分享一下，就是最近的一个练习，不管是跟其他队伍练，因为已经很少人使用一个3-1-2的一个标准阵了。这个会不会是你们在练习的时候也会遇到的一个问题？就想要，因为等一下会打 HQ， 他们应该就是3-1-2，可是对手都不使用3-1-2。
So we lost the AHQ last week, and they primarily played 3 tank comps. And he was told by the coach of another team that in scrims or whatever, it's hard to find a team that's playing a tank comp, and it's hard to practice against it. Do we have that problem, like practicing against a 3 tank team?
It's definitely a problem, especially because we always practice against Koreans, and they primarily play 3 DPS or 2-2-2. So it's very difficult to find a team that plays 3 tanks, and that's probably why, that's one of the reasons why we find it difficult to play against.
他是表示说，因为我们主要练习的对象都是韩国的队伍，然后他们都不太玩3坦的阵型，都是2-2-2的或是3个输出的阵型，所以我们对应付坦克就有点不熟悉，所以这也是造成我们上礼拜输的原因之一。
对，因为蛮多队友有这样的一个表示哦，都觉得对上闪电狼反而不是那么害怕，但对上 HQ， 因为大家都没有一个，就是你的对手都没有一个3-1-2。那另外一个问题想要问一下杰森教练这边，因为其实我们都会觉得澳洲，因为最近有看一些国外的一些网站，其实有越来越多的一个赛事在澳洲。那当然，你们决定来台湾，应该是做了很多的一个决定，因为毕竟你要离乡背景。那原本的一个澳洲的一个 Overwatch 环境跟现在，你可不可以跟我们分享一下？
就是当初我们在来台湾之前，也参加过太平洋的那个除了这个以外最大的规模的一个比赛，就邀请到了很多越南啊、泰国之类的队伍，越南、泰国、马来西亚、新加坡，就是整个东南亚地区的队伍都有参加，总共有40-50个队伍参加。然后之后我们是全胜，但是那个时候就有意识到说澳洲开始有往就是电竞扩展的趋势。之后那个比赛完之后，就接着下一个月就有 ESL 电竞联盟的一个赛事，我们也有参加，然后也有晋级到那个决赛。但是之后收到通知说台湾这边有这样子一个这么大规模的比赛，
是，
然后我们是决定那边的就放弃名额，然后来台湾比赛。就最近这几个月，澳洲电竞开始有起步，尤其是斗阵特工这个方面，尤其是还有ESL 电竞联盟在雪梨有举办那个 IEM， 这次 CSGO 的比赛也就是在这里举办。
是，
然后接下来世界杯斗阵特工的那个比赛也是有几组也是在澳洲。我们很幸运的就是澳洲可以当主场队，第一次当主场队，因为我们的比赛会是在雪梨举行。
对，那我当然也要问一下，就是在11月份 Overwatch 有一个世界杯嘛，那各国的一个开始在进行一些选角的一个，应该是选6个组合。那委员会的一个部分，台湾目前都已经结束，就是3个当选委员他会去做一个评选。那有人跟你们接触了吗？
我已经和另外2个其他委员也有谈上话了，我们也已经开始在沟通选择我们的阵型，我们要送的选手。因为其他两名那个委员会的委员，那个他们专注于的地方不是说教练的部分，或是教导游戏的部分，他们一个是以前的选手，然后一个是直播员跟赛评。
是，
所以我们就是会用大家各自那个自己的专长来帮助我们的队伍。
是，那另外就是也要问一下，因为2位看起来都蛮年轻的，在澳洲的部分，你们还是学生吗
？We both look pretty young. If we're in Australia, are we still like students?
What do you mean?
Like, are we students? Like, we look really young. So, is our usual occupation like in Australia, like a student?
Yeah, before Overwatch, I was just starting in uni. That's it.
他在来台湾当职业选手之前，就是在大学就读。
所以这次为了来比赛，然后有休学，已经休学了吗？
是的。
那 教练呢？教练也是学生吗？
没有，我现在没有在就学。我那个来之前的话，我主要做的事情就是照顾我妈妈，因为她前几年中风之后，我就当她的主要的看护。
是哇，那个非常伟大，因为今天是母亲节，对，真的，因为对于两位来讲都算是离乡背景，那么来台湾也应该很久没有跟家人见面，没有跟妈妈见面。今天是母亲节，可不可以跟他们讲一段话，用英文也好，用中文也好，都可以。
Today is Mother's Day as well, so if you have anything you want to say to your mother now's the time.
Just thank you for taking care of me for all these years, even though sometimes I don't listen. Yeah, and that's about it.
他说谢谢母亲这几年的照顾，有时候他也不太听话，但是还是谢谢母亲的照顾。我也对我母亲我也很感激，因为当初我们小时候我们移民来去澳洲的时候，那时候我跟我妹妹大概6岁的时候，母亲移民来的时候完全不会讲英文，然后在澳洲也没有认识任何人，连我现在回想起来都为她觉得有点后怕，所以真的非常感谢她带我去澳洲，给我们这样的机会，谢谢妈妈。
哇，非常感人哦。那么当然也谢谢两位接受我们的一个访问啊，希望你们在下一场比赛，因为对上 AHQ 啊，这个希望你们可以好好加油，可以拿下胜利啊。先谢谢两位，那我们下次见喽，
谢谢，
拜拜。